That's how success happens, that we're being found. It's not what we're saying. It's not what we're looking for. It's who is out there finding us. At the end of the day, we are selling ourselves, whether we want to or not. If we want to be a leader, if we want people to follow us as a person, to hire us as a person, or to buy our product, use our service, we are part of it. It's who we are. We are people. We have our failures. We have our success. We have blood running through our veins. Who is the real Tom Reaoch? There shouldn't be who is the real Tom, because there shouldn't be a fake one.
It's time to reinvent.
Welcome to Reinventing Perspectives. Today we have a phenomenal guest. If you've been with us for a while, you know this person. If you haven't, you want to know this person, so stick around. Today we have Tom Reaoch.
Thank you, Priscilla. It's always a pleasure.
When we met, we were talking about you being the king of networking, and you lived true to that. Tom is so true to that because we have grown over time to get to know one another, and this is an amazing conversation that we have for you. If you haven't listened in, the previous episode that Tom was on was called Networking and Your Personal Brand with Tom Reaoch. You want to go and listen to it. So it's Networking and Your Personal Brand with Tom Reaoch. But for today, Tom, let us know, who is Tom and what's your mission?
Well, Tom Reaoch is, first of all, I'm an American. I live in Brazil. Been here since 1970, for many years. Born and educated in the States, came here. And through all of that time, networking has been of essence. I've worked for different corporations here, multinational, Danish, Dutch, American, Brazilian companies, traveled throughout Europe, traveled throughout North America, Latin America, business-wise, part of that leisure-wise. So I do have an understanding of cultures. I consider myself today a multicultural person. And my journey has always been led by people. I've been a follower of people because people have given me orientation through my whole life, way back when someone suggested I come to Brazil, till today. So that's just been part of me. And at times, certain associations started calling me the king of networking. Here in Brazil, I've been very active this latter part of my life as a consultant, as a business person, a business startup in communication, internet radio program, and podcasting, which is what I do today. I have 3 different podcasts. You've been on my podcasts. So I consider myself, at one sense, being a networker, another sense being a communicator, and some people think, and I think, a thought leader. Networking is a process. It's what you do, how you do it, and I speak about that. You've mentioned our interview. Much of what I say and what I said there is not rocket science. There's no pill. There's no magic. There's just a logical interpretation of what I think networking is and how success comes. But the point that has always worked for me, I consider a person that I network with as an ally. Many people want to sell or buy, find a job. They feel that's the essence of networking. It's part. But for me, it's always been creating allies, finding allies, whether that was in the corporate world, when I was an executive, when I started my own company, my podcasting. My guests are all allies, and I hope to be an ally with them, as you are today, right? I've interviewed you on my podcast. You've interviewed me, and in that, we help each other purvey those points of what and who we are, we think are important for others. You have a challenge, you have an objective, right? Your focus is helping early entrepreneurs win at business, which sounds simple, but it's absolutely complex. And much of what I do is similar to that. I know you have a focus on young people. I've had that for many years here in Brazil in youth apprenticeship programs of speaking to teenagers, to young persons about business, how they can be found by business organizations. They start their life or start their own business. And it gets back to the basics of networking, creating allies, creating people around your thoughts. So that's where we are today. And I hope we'll be here tomorrow and in the future.
The last episode, it was about networking, how to grow your network, how to meet people. Today, you've engaged with a couple of people and you're growing your network, and you want to stand out as a personal brand. You want people to remember who you are from the networking, and you don't just want to fall into a sea of people. What do you do next?
When I found myself years ago starting my own company and out there literally by myself, I did a lot of learning. I did a lot of research on Google. If I worked for a company that had a brand that was known, Several of the companies were global brands. They were known. And here I was starting out my own company and I was unknown. What should I do? Some of the same processes I had to replicate. So I had to show and tell. I had to decide what my process was. It's the same for everybody today. What is it that you have? Do you have a service, product? Are you making an app? Do you design web programs for somebody? You're writing a book? You're a speaker. So what is it that you do? And how do you show that? That showing, again, has been traditional. There are many ways of doing it. Having a website, the first thing today, exposing yourself on various social medias. They are communication platforms. People sort of hesitate when you talk about social media. They consider it as being a personal aspect of their life. They say, well, I'm active, but with my friends. I don't use it for business. But if we hope to be a business person, and this is my suggestion, I've applied that to myself, we're not two different people. We're not three different people. We're one person. And that's something I learned many, many years ago when I interviewed a person in the States, and she was an expert in public relations. That was the inception of a lot of social media around the year 2000. Well, many of our listeners don't realize that internet is relatively new, right? For them, it isn't because they were born using it. At that time when it was happening, that was my discussion with her. And that was a learning process for me. And she said, which I believe today, you can have many personas. Right? You can be a speaker, you can be a podcast host, a business owner, you can be an author, you can be a volunteer in community programs. Each one of those, you should develop a persona because they're specific parts of you. But again, her suggestion was all of those need to lead back to you, should lead back to you. So in her suggestion, again, which I follow, you should not be different persons in each one of those personas. So when I'm home on weekends, this is the way I am. When I'm at the office, that's the way I am. When I'm speaking in public, it might be something different. And her suggestion years ago was, no, you are what people will find on the internet and see. So if they see different things in different places about you, it becomes confusing. That was her point, and I believe that. Because as you know, any persons, even today on social media, they act differently in each one of the platforms. They may be on Facebook one way, they may be on Instagram another way. You and I are on TikTok, that could be something absolutely different, right? LinkedIn, a more professional outlook, but they all should come back to the same place. So if we are found, and the we is if Tom Reaoch is found, if Priscilla is found, and that's how success happens, that we're being found. It's not what we're saying, it's not what we're looking for, it's who is out there finding us. It should all come back to a point or multiple points, but each of those points should revolve around a common concept of who you are, what is it you're projecting, and then showing the various personas that you may have. That's maybe difficult to understand for a person just starting out. They just have their own persona, they're a person, they may be still finishing school. For the younger persons that we both try to help, they really don't have what we would call different personas. But whatever it is, as a student, you need to nurture that. And that should be created in a way, because at the end of the day, we are selling ourselves, whether we want to or not. And if we want to be a leader, if we want people to follow us as a person, to hire us as a person, or to buy our product, use our service, we are part of it. So that's where that process comes from. And the humanizing is who we are. We are people. We have our failures, we have our success, we have blood running through our veins. And so we need to show ourselves in those personas as human beings. That's the humanizing. Who is the real Tom Reaoch? There shouldn't be who is the real Tom, because there shouldn't be a fake one, right? It's what you see is what you get, and where you see it is what you get. And it's to that point, many of my podcast guests, I can see that when I interview them. They want to be projected as one thing. Oh, but I'm not here to talk about that. Well, you don't necessarily have to talk about that, but you should say that is part of you. Part of who you are. Because when we're not open to that, my impression is that people think we're hiding something. And it could be true, but we shouldn't be. Transparency is a word that's been trampled on, but that just comes from simply showing who you are, telling who you are, letting people see who you are. Certain people, they're not really turned on about that. And here in Brazil and in many other parts of the world, they want to be considered a show-off. If you don't have to, go out and dance in the streets. But we need to purvey a profile that's receptive. All right. In that sense, if people find us, they get the feeling that I can sit down and talk to Priscilla. I think she's the right person, or I think she could help me, all right? Or I think I could help her, which is the other side of the story. It's a simple process, but absolutely complex to get there.
Hey, small business family, quick pause here. If you've been listening and thinking, I need help getting clear on my message and how to actually market this amazing thing I've created, I've made something just for you. It's called the Clarity Intensive, and it's 2 focused sessions, one-on-one, where we untangle your ideas, map out your next best move, and build a foundation for real business momentum. If you're done thinking what's the right thing to do and you're ready for a customized strategy that fits you, this is for you. You'll find the link in the show notes, or you can visit the website www.reinventingperspectives.com/shop, and you'll see our Clarity Intensive 1-to-1 marketing coaching. Let's get back to the show. There's so much that you said there, Tom. Like, my mind is literally racing. I don't know if I can unpack it now, but I need to try to do this for the audience. A lot of times we've been trained a certain way to think about being professional, depending on what kind of background you're coming from. And we try to present that professionalism that we think is, professional in the corporate environment or the way you're groomed through schooling. It makes you almost not comfortable with the idea of sort of being yourself in a business sense. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Tom.
No, it does. Absolutely.
So now trying to sort of move from that grooming of professionalism to move to, it's okay to just be myself is, like you said, simply complex. But very necessary in today's world of doing business, because people need to feel like they can like you, like they can trust you, like they're comfortable talking to you, because they can't do business with you if they're not talking to you. And I don't know, Tom, what suggestions you would give to someone who's sort of struggling with that, being too professional and not feeling comfortable sort of being yourself, especially in platforms like LinkedIn, where all your connections are also people you know in a professional capacity. Where do you draw the line?
Lines are not chiseled in granite anymore. Evolution happens, things change. We need to change with that. Years ago, what you said was the norm of being reserved, right? So a reserved type of person was valued probably more than an outspoken type person. That's true, but times have changed. So as times change, we need to adapt ourselves to that. I'm not sure if you're familiar. There's a thing that my grandchildren use. It's called slime. Have you ever seen or heard of slime? Sort of a gelatin thing. It at the same time is consistent and inconsistent. Does that make sense? We take that slime, you can put it in your hand, and then it gets all gushy and moves around. If you lay it down on a table or something, it's still one thing. So many times, maybe we need to do that, look at ourselves as slime and take ourselves and say, well, it's not a rock. It should change. You mentioned the word comfortable. If you've ever had slime in your hands, that first touch might not have been comfortable. Holding a rock might not be comfortable. So the feelings that we get from anything, they're personal. So I could pick up a rock, I could pick up slime, and I can feel one way or the other. I might feel the same. But you might have different feelings. A third party may not want to pick up neither the rock nor the slime. But this is what I say to adaptability. Rocks are out there, slime is there, and that's part of the world. We need to look at ourselves as that. How do we want people to put us or what we do in their hand? How do we want to reach their comfort zone? It's not about our comfort zone. We're sort of egoistical when we say these things. It's not about us. Even though the company that I've started, that you started, it's about you. But we have to expand that. It's on who we want to incorporate to what we do, to what we say. So at the same time, we have to think inside here, say, how does that go out? Either how or will the slime stick? Or maybe that rock might hurt somebody. Maybe it's better to throw slime. Neither may be comfortable. So we have to get out of ourselves sometimes. Many times we take a passive nature because we think it's all in here. We're just one of 8 billion. What the other 8 billion think, I try to understand. I can't say that I know because we don't know. And whatever that's going to be is going to be on the day that anybody finds us and for whatever reason they find us. So again, to that, how can you as a business person, as a thought leader, be prepared for that? And that's not easy because you can't get up in the morning and say, I'm going to jog and train to be that person. We have to do that on a daily basis. We have to do that as you do. We keep communicating. We keep talking, we keep looking, we keep finding, we keep being found, right? If we go back to where we met and how we met, I consider this a prime example of everything that I've just said. We met virtually on a platform. I think you reached out to me asking if I would speak. You threw your slime. It wasn't a rock. It landed. I said, hey, this is nice. This is comfortable. This could be enjoyable. I answered. That took steps forward, resulted in an interview on your podcast, right? Back and forth. You gave me the opportunity to meet you. Was I looking? Theoretically, yes, because I was on a platform to be found. I worked to that point. I want people to find me. What are the characteristics of the persons that I want to find me? You fit that category because you were there. You had your own, you're looking for somebody, you're looking for something, right? When that coincided, you reached out. You threw the slime. I got the slime. I said, hey, this feels good. It's coming from Perth, Australia. Wow. I don't even know where that is. That's way off the side. I don't know anybody. I know a lot of people on this side of Australia, but I don't know anybody out there. So that's how the steps. We talked. I interviewed you. Again, we've been interacting. Through that, you threw more slime at me. Said, hey, I think you ought to talk to this person. Bingo. Not a rock, more slime. I said, hey, this is interesting. I find today that you were friends from way back. You're in Perth. I interviewed him in Germany. He's also from Africa. I'm in Brazil, from the States. See how small our slime becomes. Kept contact with him because I keep nurturing the slime. I didn't take the rock and put it on a shelf. I said, well, how's this slime going to, and it does, it evolves. So again, I follow those connections. I followed you. I'm using this you as an example because that's all of the people that I try to interact with. It's the same process. Am I actively out digging? Not necessarily, but I'm actively out there to interact, to have people throw slime at me, or maybe once in a while to throw slime out. And again, that's how it goes. All right, you start as one thing, you've added on. You as a podcast host, are you a different person than what's on LinkedIn? No, you're the same person, but you're in a different way. Here, you're outreaching, you're helping people, you're communicating. Today, you are the real human voice and human face of what you do, as I am. And that's the message I hope that our listeners today grasp. I'm not saying they need to be a podcast host. They could be, but they need to humanize whatever it is that they do. They need to put a face on it, all right? They need to put a voice to it. And more than anything else, put a little bit of emotion in there. Because again, we're not looking for a rock. We're looking for something that's going to generate comfort, going to help with a solution. And if it gives us a solution and comfort at the same time, it's a double bingo. What's next for us is what is next. When I started on my own business, websites were new. So I learned to do a website. Today, you have websites, you have Instagram, you have TikTok. You have now artificial intelligence coming. Someone waking up today or hopefully going to sleep today and looking towards tomorrow. What is it that you're trying to purvey? What is your voice? What is your face? How do you want your slime to feel? Don't throw rocks, but throw something that generates comfort. And that comfort could be personal. It could be mental. It could be emotional. It could be spiritual. And each one of those are important. If we can get them all together, fantastic. That's sort of like a sundae with a cherry on top.
Just a quick ask. If you're finding this information helpful, please share it with someone that you know would love this conversation and would find this information beneficial. Thank you again for listening in, and let's jump back into our conversation. Like you said, we think it's about us, and it's not about us. It's about the people we serve. So if we're not relatable, if we're not providing comfort, like you said, if we're not being sticky to the people that we serve by adapting with the way things are changing, then we're doing ourselves a lot of harm.
I think that's the essence of life. We just have a bigger toolbox today than our predecessors had. So you could say, well, it's harder. No, I think it's easier.
I also have to add this on because, Tom, I know that you are phenomenal at branding. King of networking, it's easy to remember. The king of networking in Brazil, it has a certain ring to it. Even talk to Brazil, it sort of stands out by itself positioning wise. Mm-hmm. So to someone who's listening and who's starting out and who's thinking, oh, well, I don't know how to really stand out. And I'm afraid that if I'm too personal, perhaps I lose that edge of, the things of the past that we hold on to as giving us an edge. So
Mhm.
how do I balance that?
I'll use myself as an example again. I'm several brands. And in that branding process, and as I mentioned, the line changes. Here in Brazil, if you go into Google, the Seja network, I've been in first place for I don't know how many years. First of all, my name's difficult to pronounce, but because of my networking activity, more people refer to me as in Portuguese, O Rei do Networking. So when that came up, I says, well, I'm going to assume that. It was something. It was that catchy title. I was rarely introduced as, here's Tom Reaoch. I was introduced as, here's the king of networking. So if that's how people were introducing me, that is what's remembered. And that's what I picked. And I said, I'm going to focus on this. So if they're calling me that, I should be calling myself that as well. I had to get over that hurdle. Well, I can't go out and say, well, I'm the king of networking. No, somebody else has to refer that way to you. So back to your question, what are the things that you have seeded out there that attract attention to those people, those persons that are relatively close? Go through a Google search. If you think you are whatever it is, do a Google search. Do a Google search about yourself. See how you come up. So if you are an author, if you are a coach, if you are a graphic designer, if you are whatever you are, do a search for that. And first of all, do a search for that in the locality where you are. So if you're in Perth, if you're in Tasmania, if you're in Vinhedo, Brazil, search for that around you on Google, Bing, or any other search engine. See what comes up. You may be surprised at what you think attracts may or may not work. So networking, king of networking, hey to networking. Networking is a universal word. Obviously, my success has gotten to a keyword. It's key anywhere. I started on that. But my focus was in Portuguese and in Brazil. I created Talk to Brazil, and Brazil with a Z, as an internet radio program, because I also knew that one thing is to network in the country and the locality where I am. But I also saw that the persons here in Brazil had great hurdles to network with people outside the country. Why? First of all, the language. Second, the culture of not being expansive, being receptive. So I said, well, I'm going to create Talk to Brazil. I've been out to the world. I saw what people thought or said about Brazil when I was outside of Brazil. So I was going out and looking back. What did Germans, what did the English, what do Americans, do other Latins think about Brazil? It's a land of fun, not a land of business. Part of that's true. It is a land of fun, but it's also business. So how do I grasp those things that are out there? Again, Google searches, looking for it's out there, finding the gap. So if there's a gap, persons don't know. What is the gap? Part was language. There was no information in English about Brazil. So I created Talk to Brazil. So that became another keyword. That became a podcast. Talk to Brazil is a podcast. Not only talking about business in Brazil, talking about business, period. It's global. I created BBN Brazil, that's Brazil with an S, in Portuguese. So I do that interview as we're doing in Portuguese to persons who only speak Portuguese. And there are a lot of them. My third podcast, again, building on the same thing you said, how do you create a brand? The evolution, my third podcast is Café and Networking podcast. Café, coffee, again, universal, pretty universal. Networking, again, universal. Café and Networking podcast. I generate, again, interviews in English to successful business persons, helping promote them. It's not about promoting me. I help them make their pitch to sell themselves to the world. So it's a building block. It is a brand. But again, each one of these parts are construction. They're the building blocks of who I am. And back to what we said at the beginning, the personas. So I have my personas. I've written a book. I'm an author. I'm a speaker, podcast host of 3 podcasts. I'm an advisor, counselor. Each of those, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you will see what they are. But at the top of the profile, the top of my TikTok or my Instagram, Facebook, it's the same guy. It's the same face. So if they get there, if they're searching and find, this is the brand. The brand has sub-products. Many global brands that we know and use today, they have their sub-brands. Each one's another page. My suggestion, again, to those listening, you need to take your pages and put them in a binder, because we could have the different pages. We may just start with one, But success will lead to the second, to the third, to the fourth. So if you have one of those old ring binders, I don't know if anybody even knows what they are anymore, but you can open them up, put in a new sheet, and close it, right? In the future, you may want to take a sheet out and substitute it. Do that. We don't have to be who we are forever. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, I've taken out sheets of my past because they're not relevant anymore. It's not that they didn't exist, but they're history. And nobody wants to go through that whole big binder. They want to know what's up to date. What is it now? More important today for me and for you, Priscilla. They don't even want to know now. They want to know tomorrow. So what are you going to talk about for the future? What am I going to help people for the future? What I did in the past is gone. What you have done in the past, it's gone. It's not forgotten. It could or could not be relevant. But people are looking for what's going to be relevant this evening, tomorrow morning, next week. And so that's part of our brand. I can be old, but I can't be obsolete. So people shouldn't be looking for me for my age or not looking for me for my age. They should be looking for me for the content that I'm purveying, and they should find that content. Then they can find this guy and say, wow, he's an old guy. That could be good or bad. Doesn't matter, but they're here. So they don't turn the channel before they get to you. And that's part of a brand. What we do and what we buy when we go in the store, when we get on the internet and e-commerce, it's what's here that's driving us to buy that. It's what we remember of any brand. And so that has to be the same for us as a person. What's driven them there, what they see, what do they believe, transparency, they will buy or they will want to handle the slime that we're offering. Make sense?
Totally makes sense. We get it. For those who are like me, who are like, I just want to be professional. Come on, guys, let's adapt. Let's move with the times and let's serve the people that we intend to serve by being like slime. Become like slime.
Right.
Thank you so much, Tom. Tom, please let people know, where can they follow you, where can they find you and get into your world?
Well, again, it's Google. If they do want to look for my name, it's Tom Reaoch. The last name is Reaoch. They'll find my podcasts. LinkedIn, sort of my catch-all. That's where I tend to favor. It's helped me in my success. But I keep learning from it because the important thing that any of our listeners should do is to benchmark others. What I know, what has been successful for me, I did not invent. I've learned from somebody somewhere. So what we need to do is to expose ourselves to the learning process. Where can I learn more about culture, about persons, about processes, about anything? Find those thought leaders, find those persons, find that slime, and then follow it. You don't have to grasp it right away, but follow it. See why that slime seems to appear comfortable, interesting. And that's what I've done. Back to my allies in networking. I follow those people. I see what they're doing. They've helped me see trends that I was not aware of. We were both on TikTok. I saw it as a trend. I felt very uncomfortable with grasping the TikTok slime. I thought it wasn't for me. But what I did find that I didn't understand enough about it. So several of my podcast guests who were on them, why are you there? Explain to me. There's 1 billion people there. One woman said, my 3 adolescent sons are there. If I'm not there, I don't know what's happening. So it's that. And I said to me as king of network, if I'm not on TikTok, I'm not in touch with 1 billion people. So I can't say that I'm the king of networking and not be where 1 billion people are. We have to go in and benchmark. There's good, there's bad, there's indifferent in everything. Then it gets back to here to choose what you want to follow, to choose what we see is relevant to our persona. And it's a learning process. It's hard to, because we did say many things, to get your arm around everything. But those who do listen and re-listen will pick up those things that are meaningful, pick up that slime that has stuck. So it's my suggestion back to your listeners, they get back in touch with you and help you and each other resonate on the stickiness of this slime, the good, the bad, and the ugly, whatever it is.
I was going to ask you how to align your overall business strategy with, this humanizing the brand effort. And I think you just answered that when you talked about how can you not be on TikTok if you're the king of networking and that's your persona that you are the king of networking and you're not where the people are so that you can network. If you are transparent, you are yourself. And this is the message, and this is who people have said you are. It's authentic. It sort of takes care of itself. The decisions become quite automatic because it's aligned to this who you are.
You've just mentioned another fantastic keyword, which is authentic. We spoke about transparency. More than that, it's authenticity. People may see, but they may not believe. I think authenticity speaks higher than transparency. So I need to be the guy I am. You need to be the person you are. I have to work at being the same because I do have my own failures. All right, I'm not superpower. I learn every day, but that's part of being authentic. Say when you fail, assume it. And I'm not always right. Now, there will be people listening. They will not agree. They will think this is all whatever, and that's their right. And I'm not trying to convince everybody. We can't be a leader to everybody, but we should be a leader to those people who can grasp what we're saying and feel it adapts to what their objectives of life. It may not, and that's not wrong.
One of the things that stops people from wanting to be themselves on these platforms is that fear of what other people think and fear of people sort of not liking you or thinking certain things about you. But like you said, you can't be a leader to everyone.
No, and we shouldn't become depressed if we aren't. I celebrate the success for the ones I am. Back to my allies. Those are the nuggets we look for in what we do. You know, there are 8 billion people, but I need and I hope to connect to those like yourselves that are meaningful, authentic, transparent, sensitive, spiritual people. And they're out there. You're there. To me, that's what life's about. When in my time did I ever think that I would do this? Never. This is the payback. When things go right.
I don't know where the statement is from, where they say some people lead from the front, some people lead from the back, some people lead alongside.
At times we need to be out front leading. As a thought leader, as a person who follows future trends, many times I've been there where other people haven't even seen, but I followed people who were there. Right? Then I became the leader to those behind. Once we create our followership, that is also a time that we need to step back. We can't be the barricade for our own followers. We need to be the gate. So sometimes we lead in front, sometimes we lead in the middle, sometimes we lead in the back. And that changes, and it should change. Because you have created people who have followed you and become leaders. I mentioned in Kumbirai, he is a leader. He's created followers. All right. Some of his followers are now successful. And it's the same thing. So leadership is transitional. Leadership is part of our being. And it's not where we are in the line. It's who we are in the part of the line where we are. And we should be the same in the front, in the middle, or in the back. We're starting a new line.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Tom. I feel like if you were listening to this, I hope you had a coffee. I hope you had a tea. I hope this was like reinventing perspective / Café podcast. It was Talk to Brazil. It was everything. And you got some nuggets out of today's episode that you're going to use and remember and keep coming back to yourself. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you. Enjoy life.
I hope you got a lot of information, a lot of actionable things out of these episodes. Please support us by going and leaving a review in your podcast listening app. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with the Reinventing Perspectives podcast. We value you. See you again next week.
It's time to reinvent.